Good morning, P. How was your week?
It was good. I mean, it was another one of those. The pattern lately is, the weekend work carries Monday, Tuesday, and then go small and just kind of see what happens. Really, it's even less about trading late in the week than watching. Just seeing what's going to drop to what levels, and because I mean, even on you get like a pretty steep sell off, QQQ almost 4%, but it's not going to hit all stocks evenly. And you watch your stuff and see how it's holding up. And so that was pretty much what I did. I had a few shorts that did well with Coin and Tesla, but again, it's never a big focus for me. I'm always kind of thinking uh, on the sort of the monthly time frame, seeing where these sectors go.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I try to catch trends early on. In the last 2 weeks, especially the stuff that we do in these sessions, Monday and Tuesday have just delivered. Um, After that, it's kind of seemed like you have to almost reset Wednesday. It's like,
Yeah,
ve-
it's been wild. It just like flies out of the gate.
and it gets very volatile. For me, I mean, Monday, Tuesday were pretty darn good. Wednesday, not so much, but I switched to socials real quick. Um, just because I think we're on the same trend we were late July, where the interest rates came in, big money kind of pouted for a few weeks, got through some earnings and some other numbers, and it kind of picked itself up off the floor. Not necessarily like found a bottom, but just had relief from the pouting. And I really feel we're in the pouting stage right now. Just the lack of volume from even the retail side. Like we're making it like an hour and a half in on most plays. Um, when the market's super green, that's when you get the continuation. But for me, a lot of these plays are easier to read because they're moving a lot slower. I don't know if you see that
Yeah.
on your side, but the charts move so slow. Like I almost have time to post and be like, "Here, buy this now," because in the next 30 minutes it's going to bump 5%. Um, and that's kind of how I trade. So, and in that regard, it's been weird, but I think it's probably one of the better learning environments, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, even so, Friday obviously was kind of a disaster, and you didn't even get much of a rally at close like we've had sometimes. But like for me, coin, I'm like, all right, it's about it's like 3% from my line, but it's probably going to hit that at close, and it did. I mean, even though there's no real reason for it to do that, but it's just those, that demand at those levels. They're like magnets, and it was just really, really fascinating to watch. It isn't necessarily indicative of continuation into the next week, but it's sort of like, okay, the charts kind of reset back to familiarity, and I like that. I mean, I think that's been really good to me. If coin had run to 80 last week, I wouldn't even know what to do with it. I'd just be
Yeah,
really scared
yeah.
about trading it up there. So I kind of prefer for now for it to
Just
pull back.
make a higher low. That's what you're looking
Yeah,
for. It just keep making a
exactly.
higher low. Um, yeah, no. Last week was so weird. I have a note here. I definitely wanted to mention it. I normally don't have like all one sided trades, right? Like if I have 10 trades, they're not 10 green or 10 red. There's always a mix. And last week I had Tuesday 100% green trades and Friday 100% red trades, and that is
Oh,
like an oddity in itself. Um, that's such an oddity in itself. I mean, both days were kind of light, but yeah, just not
it
normal. And that's the environment we're in. And when you're wrong, you gotta kind of just walk away. That's kind of the point of that. And when you're right, you just keep playing, I guess. Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean that that open, because you had the initial reaction to the numbers, right? And then so that's pretty typical. SPY QQQ drop like 1% or more, and then at open you had a little bit of a drop, and then just some indecision. But then the bottom just fell out of it, and
yeah,
none of the
yeah,
rallies really came back, and so a lot of a lot of the stocks kind of followed that, and that was where, honestly, flow was kind of out the window at that point, because you're just gonna they're just gonna break down, and whales will just flip their positions around. So basic materials, the bottom fell out. I had been bullish on lithium, and you saw how bad that collapsed,
Yeah, yeah,
which I
yeah.
think is an opportunity, which we'll get to later. But yeah, so I'm completely with you on that.
The Fridays haven't, and we like, I think definitely when we started the room, we would find like China or Bitcoin or some the metals and oil, like they would be hot on Friday, and it's kind of counterintuitive. Thursday and Friday have not been good the last month. Um,
Yeah, and especially like in the pre-market movement has been
yes.
really, quiet, kind of eerily quiet on a lot of those.
So kind of move ahead a little bit, kind of focus
Yeah,
on
yeah.
some things. Since you're the Baron, I guess we should call you. Where you at with oil and whatnot and them materials?
All right, so when I look at oil, one of the things I started doing was checking on weekly charts more. Because I've kind of been at it long enough to where the weekly chart includes a lot of weeks I've traded before, right?
Sure,
So like when I
sure.
started, I look at a weekly chart and I'm like, I didn't even know anything back then, so kind of who cares. But now, like, I see like XLE. This is the oil ETF, and it is in a pretty strong spot right now to try to make a run back to 90 to me. Like when I'm just reading the chart, and then when I go into the flow on it, the strikes make a lot of sense the um, compared to the chart. So like what you get is you get like at like 1021, or what's the 1014. I'll start there. So like 1014, you have a lot of sold puts at 80, and the sold puts all the way down to 70 are bullish. So it's like, even if it's gonna pull back, it's gonna run against a lot of um, insulation there. And so I think we might consolidate for a bit in like that 75 to 80, but I think this is gearing up to push potentially back to 90. That's kind of my read on XLE. And then I look at the weekly charts on individual oil stocks. They're looking pretty strong as well. And it's kind of like what happened last time, where the strongest flow is in mid caps and what do you call like midstream oil stocks. So like the getting it, you take it out of the ground, you get it to your gas tank. Everything happens in between there.
Yeah, okay.
Is looking pretty strong, which is a sign of overall sector strength to me, rather than trader speculation. So yeah, I'm pretty bullish on oil to see some continuation.
I just wrote down a chart I want to talk about when we get to the next session, just because of
Yeah,
what you just said. That number you talked about on XLE is all time high. So just overall, and the thesis I had on natural gas, early in the summer,
yeah,
that we were gonna have a cool off point. Um, I mean, it might be more um, focused, I guess. I don't know a good word there onto oil. It might do more to oil than to natural gas, but that same thesis is in play, right? That the oil price goes up, and like out here, we melted our gas prices melted up. We got all the way down to $80 a barrel. It's still $5 a gallon out here. What the hell? I
yeah, and
couldn't I can't imagine it going up even more. So
and you've got England opening up new drilling in the North Sea, but like that won't actually
that's like
do
5 years.
anything for a couple years. But
Yeah.
it's really so that the desperation of that move, given everything they're all about with climate initiatives and everything, like
Mm.
that is really bullish for oil. That
Yes.
it just demonstrates that need there. And so when all of that macro stuff kind of lines up with what I'm seeing in the charts, it's very similar to last time where they've already run really hard, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to slow down, and the pullbacks are going to be pretty small, and those are kind of your opportunities to jump in.
Definitely. Talking about the political side, and most people probably picked up that I really hate both sides by now.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of either. Um, but Biden, day one, turned Trump's oil stuff around. He turned that bus right around. Like,
yeah,
as far as the America goes, just as like a tit for tat political thing. And he's coming back on that currently. He's talking about opening up some stuff that he closed down day one. Just in a, his language is obviously different, but so that's not only a UK thing. We're doing it as well, and we're also doing it against the grain politically, which is interesting.
yeah. Right. I mean, the U.S. Is in a much better position than Europe if they
Oh,
choose
sure.
to be. I mean, as far as energy independence, but yeah, I mean, he backed off a lot of that and sort of feeling it now. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
we
with you
don't
there.
have to drill, from my understanding. We just kind of kick on Alaska and we're good. We just turn that valve on.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
exactly.
It's not much,
Yeah,
you know, grease the pipes up a little bit and if I can turn that valve on, we're good to go.
yeah. We're we should probably have more refineries. Like I think that's one thing that
That's our downfall, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I mean, you I think you posted like energy is this kind of the only safe place to be
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
and so going into the week, you could see a rebound in a lot of sectors, but energy has the best outlook heading into the week to me.
I ain't mentioning no individual tickers here, but I think it was the worst day, which I think was Thursday. My whole entire scanner list was my crappy energy plays and your good flow read energy plays. The whole
Yeah,
like scanner list was nothing but them, and I was like, all right, that's a sign. I mean, it was the only thing holding. It was, it was just crazy to me. Kind of get going forward into the week a little bit. Banks, I think a lot of them report more towards the end of the week, but I think that's the talk of the town right now is the banking industry.
yeah, and I can always see this bank earnings season coming up, and one I'm kind of like annoyed at myself that I missed was can you get some of the smaller ones first, and Jef,
Yeah.
which I had been on last time. They actually had strong earnings and they moved from like 29 to 33 or something, but yeah, so like these charts like not to get too much into the individual stocks, but like BAC is a good example of
Yeah. Yeah.
a stock I backed off on because it it sort of fell out of the setup that I'd been trading for a while, which was to look at it, get to like the lower 32s, and then get that back up to like 34, and then it actually went all the way to 36. But so it's down again. With some of these banks, it's actually not June lows that we're talking about, but a lot, they really struggled in July too. So it's just kind of going to see if they can come back from that. So making this overall sector ETF focused, XLF has been struggling for a long time now. It had a good rally in August with everything else, but is kind of on the precipice of breaking down below the summer lows. So let me give you a take on the flow on that. All right, so
The XLF
yeah,
looks like
XLF 10. It's got 10/21/29p is a bearish contract heading into the week, and December 30C, which is not which is in the money, is a bearish contract too. So the outlook going into going into the week is not so great. But I think that what can happen, you can see some that's some spillover from Friday. So at about 6 a.m. my time, I can see where the open interest is at with all that. If they cashed in and are gonna sort of reset their positions, I'll pick up on some of that on Monday morning.
That's a weird thing about Friday being a dump day, is it kind of messes with everything until Monday.
Yeah,
It's interesting. Um, I just think news in general in the market, business news, let's put it that way. There's just nothing really that's going to be great and or hold weight. Um, I mean, earnings are going to be flat in most cases, right? Like no one's blowing it out of the water. It seems like that'll be
yeah,
next year, and the market isn't really going to react to it drastically. I mean, there's a couple of ones out there that will do okay, but they're usually not the names. Um, so this week with the banks all reporting, we got the consumer price index for last month coming out. I think we have a week a lot like last week, especially with the banks kind of being doom and gloom. Like CS, I think we get the market doing that where it kind of just dies a little bit, but it comes back to a reasonable level.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and CS is such a perfect example of the people like or like puts Monday at open on
Yeah.
it's just saying this got destroyed um because it had already when CS,
Yeah.
and honestly not it's a stock I kind of followed in the aftermath. Like I caught a small trade on our idea on it under 4,
Yep. Me too.
but hadn't really followed it historically.
Did
But I mean, you
did you
could see
play
when it
did you play shares or options? How
shares.
far
Yeah,
where'd you get out at? Let's play where'd you get out at?
yeah. Yeah, I got in. It was like 398 is when I
Okay.
bought, and
Okay.
I got out at 430 was
Oh
when I
fuck. Okay.
got the. So I missed the big spike, but
Oh yeah, I was out. I got like, I, I was a couple cents cheaper than you, but 425, my friend, I was gone.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was out.
yeah, that was good. I wish I would have played the options. I just didn't like the IV was already through the roof on it, so you just have less margin for error when the IV's that high. But I could have done leaps. It wasn't my main focus. It was kind of like an easy opportunity. So
Yeah, and I think
definitely
on
not
the
so.
bank side, that's what we're gonna get this week is a lot of like the just even the because it's Friday, most of them report Thursday or Friday. They don't report early, and I think that they're just gonna get beat up early, um, and then they'll get it back probably next week. So for me, I'm staying away from the banks this week, but I think it's a good thing to follow for opportunity.
Yeah, if BAC goes under $30, I mean, you should just buy some shares. I mean, it's just not going
Yeah.
to stay there. So, but yeah, it definitely could kind of drip down there. And yeah, so on the option side, I just don't know that there's going to be some huge opportunity for an earnings play. I think it is better to just watch them.
No, it'll be like an easy 30% after next week,
Yeah,
as long as
exactly.
you understand the chart, and that's why watching it this week to kind of see what's real. I say that all the time in chat, and don't really talk about it much. But like when the market's going south, don't turn your screen off. It's going to show you what's real. It'll show you what's holding. Basically, as things are falling, something's going to be holding or going against the grain. That's what's real. That's a real level. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and you see it
yeah,
all the time. You see it
yeah.
all the time.
Chewy did that. That was a good example
And the
last week.
same on resistance too. 100%. Like if something keeps slapping like a level and just dying off of it, that's a real level. It's like there's a reason for
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And when you get comfortable with those, you'll be able to play back to that level pretty easy. Um, as I call it, playing the downside. Um, but yeah, those I like days like that. It's a day where you can figure out what's next. It's the best way to put it. Um, Last thing let's do the big guy while we're here, so we can just kind of talk about the week because I think I was kind of
Yeah. Oh, and
finishing
I
it.
do want to add. I want to add
Go for it.
semiconductors to our
Okay.
overall discussion.
Okay.
But yeah. So yeah, we'll do SPY first. Okay. So as I'm looking at SPY, and flow reads here are kind of a different sort of thing. It's just so many hedges and massive volume, both sides. But 350p for 1021 kind of has my attention as a bearish contract. And then as I'm looking at the charts, I think that we could definitely um, see a pullback into the 350s. It might not last very long. But that's kind of where I'm on the downside. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at some potential drop to 350.
Yeah,
If not this.
I didn't have 380 last week. I didn't think we were going to really get the 370 test, to be honest. And I seen this finishing in the high 350s last week. So I'm definitely with you on going down to the 350 test. Friday's just so hard to read. I wouldn't even be talking 350 without Friday. It would have closed at 370, right? We've been talking
Yeah.
about, is it going to hold 370?
Yep. Yeah.
So like again, it's just the market kind of throws a curveball at you, and um,
And yeah.
yeah, I expect downside. I I expect what we had like a month ago at least, which was 357. I mean, we got to test that again, right? If not, this is a great higher low.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, so the bets on a drop to 340, which like is not obviously not going to happen this week, I don't think. But I mean, who knows? Maybe it does. But the bets on 340 are for January. But that doesn't mean that they think that we're going to start the year at 340. What it means is that they really are wanting to give themselves some room.
Yeah.
Because those contracts are they're $1,200. That's not day trader stuff. Sure. But they're basically looking for that drop to 340 within the next month, and then we'll probably see a rally in this. I would assume that we'll probably see a couple rallies in before the end of the year. But yeah, 340 right now to me looks like that's the spot they're eyeing weeks out from now. So that'll be interesting to watch too.
Yeah. So let's do our bowl predictions.
Okay.
I'm horrible at this, so I'm gonna go first. I just see us opening the down early in the week, kind of doom and gloom. So I'm gonna go keep it easy and go 353 on the downside. And then I do think we kind of V week check back, seeing us finish basically right here where we are at 360, 362. That's what I see.
Yes. So I little bit similar, maybe a little bit more of a range. I think we'll dip to 350, maybe even briefly below that, and I see the potential for a pump into the high 360s, like 368, with them playing 370C for 1021 is like the trade on that.
Nice. So you basically do have more range. I like it.
Same pattern, a little bit more range.
Do you see Monday and Tuesday being more of a sell-off? Monday's a bank holiday.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just don't see us not continuing Friday.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And
okay.
And then what'll happen is they'll start selling puts at the bottom and lead to some frustration from people as it pumps a little, levels off the chop, as people say. So it's another one of those things where I think pre-market's gonna define the move a bit, and you definitely want to pay attention to those pre-market levels if you're planning to day trade this thing. And I think intraday calls are going to be easier to trade than puts.
100%. That's what we've been preaching that for a while.
Yeah.
Um, we, as me and you and me listening.
Yeah.
You said like we got a little bit here for the semis. Heard you
Yeah.
phone
So
that one in.
I basically like, I just want to take a little bit of a bow here for you and me that we talked about how that sector, everything that's bad about the market right now is going to really zero in on that sector, and it's going to punish it on the bad days.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's like AMD took a beating, but it has more room to the downside. And, you know, when you and I, when the stars align and we both flip bullish on these, it's going to be a massive opportunity, but I'm still kind of staying away for now. I think you can day trade them off of levels that you know and all that, but they're just going to keep walking these down. And so AMD, Nvidia, all the secondary semis, the Soxel ETF, like, you know, all of that has potential for 10-15% more down or more. And so I just I'd caution buying the dip just because they fell so much. That's what I'd say.
I've been giving those PTs in chat for a while.
Yeah.
And I noticed it. I noticed it earlier, but it's been confirmed more now. Our contrast is I'm more of a, you know, the big picture, slower swing kind of trader, and you're the short term intraday day trader. One of the things that stands out is when we first started doing this, you said, you know, you're a day trader. You trade every day. Find something to trade. You know, that's your job. That's what you do. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's if you're gonna call it your job, you go out there and you find something to trade every day. That's the mentality you need to have. But it really does affect your style. Where I look at historical levels more because I want firm support to protect my capital, right? But those two contrasting styles, when they line up, it's amazing. And the semiconductors right now are it, because usually we're not that lined up that far out, right? Usually
Yeah.
it's like we're almost like AMD. We would be at like 52 talking about 50, not at 68 talking about 50, or
Right.
80 talking about 50. That's not normal, and that's something that I know because I've always tried to define my sources, right? My sources of information. What's their intent? You know, what's their angle? How are they using it? And then use that to my advantage. And that's kind of how I see us. But boy, like you say, when that stuff lines up, it's pretty obvious what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even. There's so many people that like if you had a lotto on AMD and you caught that guidance and you're like, oh hell yes, and then it dropped it open. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna sell this thing at 62.50. What a great win! And then it just died the whole day.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to just take your win and everything, but to have held those, I mean, that's where you get your like your 1,000% contracts or whatever. Just it just had no ability to come back from it. It's a lot of weakness there. So
Yeah, I don't know much about like because I've been talking about the 50 number like every time someone mentions it, probably for 3 or 4 weeks. Um, but even like a week ago, if you would have bought a leap to 50, um, that thing would have had to have paid by now. I mean, it dropped 10
oh,
bucks.
big time. Yeah, yeah.
um, so yeah, no, I hope people are kind of lottoing those, kind of, are not lottoing those, hedging those a little bit, right? Um, Same with
Yeah,
SQ2.
and I think that when you see a sector that has a lot of weakness, those out of the money leaps, they're they're plausible. Like I wouldn't do an out of the money leap for Apple at 115 or something, even though that could happen.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
But the stock itself is just much stronger than what you're seeing in those others. So yeah.
Rivian's another one that stands out. That I was calling that thing all the way down. Um, but yeah, another different story.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's pretty much right on time here. Let's wrap this up and get into the Discord session.
Okay, great.